Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Rich. Glad you could join me today. It's a beautiful sunshiny day. Kind of gives you a peace and serenity. Well, it can. Well, today's topic, folks, is about the greatest generation before us. Now, if my parents and grandparents were still around, they'd probably say, no, we weren't the greatest generation. But I would say yes. The struggles and everything they went through. I mean, they went through the Great Depression and then came out of the Depression with World War II. But they had community support. I mean, they didn't have food stamps. They didn't have the stuff that we have today. I mean, people were losing their homes, their farms, their businesses because of the Great Depression. If people got sick, well, then people showed up to help them. You know, that's just the way it was. But above all that, they did struggle, folks. They didn't have some of the stuff we have today. They didn't have food banks and stuff. They relied on each other, and that's something that we can learn from them. I watched my grandmother up until about 3 years before she passed away. She did her laundry with an old wringer washer. It's not that they couldn't afford to go get a new one, but they believed in using things that still worked. And some of you out there probably are wondering, what is an old wringer washer? Well, we call them the old chug machines. And they had the wringer attached to the washer. You'd pour the water in the tub. It would spin around. You drain the water, put your rinse water tub next to it, and then you would run your wringer to drain the water out of it, run it through your clothes to the wringer. That's just the way it was. But that generation was very good at making things work. They had a budget, and boy, did they stick to it. But they got through it. I mean, the Great Depression was tough. I mean, kid you not. Everything I've read about it, what my grandparents told me about it, that's why I call them the greatest generation. But of all things, they never lost their faith and their hope. They made things work, folks. They stretched things. They made things last. My grandmother used to say, if it's broke, you fix it. If it's ripped, you mend it. If it's beyond repair, like clothing, well, then guess what? You turned it into blankets or quilts. That's just the way it was. They didn't let hardly anything go to waste. She used to take a chicken. I used to laugh about this. But now that I'm older, it really wasn't funny. It was something they did. She would take a chicken and boil the bones until she got enough broth, and then she would add her vegetables. It wasn't being frugal, folks. It was, they call it supper. They made things last and work, and they stretched everything. She used to say, I used everything but the cluck. Out of a chicken, that is. Well, it's true. Now, how can we learn from that? I think we can take lessons from them. And I think very much so. We can take lessons that they did on frugality and looking on how they stretch dollars. Because in this uncertain world today, folks, prices are going up rapidly, and we need to stretch every dollar we got. And that doesn't mean that we have to count every penny, because we don't have pennies anymore. Remember that? But one thing we need to do is look before we go buy new. We need to look at things that we need and we don't need. My grandmother told me that they worked as a community, the gardens. They would share things, help one another. Neighbors looked out for neighbors. That's just the way it was. But have you noticed in this day and age, We don't seem to have the closeness with our neighbors like we used to do. When I was a child, neighbors were all the time coming over talking. They would share tools. If Dad didn't have something, he would ask them if they had it, and vice versa. They would share things. I mean, it's just the way it was. But today, do we really know our neighbors? Oh, we have friends, but do we really have the communication that our grandparents and our parents had with their locals? I don't think so. I think if we want to get back to the way things are, I think we need to look to our past for our present and our future. Because we can learn so much from them, folks. And it's the ability of our past that gives us the strength and the hope to move forward. And I want you to really honestly think about this. And give yourself some sense or quiet time and think. What would you think if you could go back in time and ask them questions? You think they would give you the answers for what you're dealing with now? I'm sure they would. Because they were a tight-knit community. And surrounding it all was faith. Faith in God and faith in each other. Families were closer, very much closer. They enjoyed the comfort of the simple things in life. They enjoyed doing things together. Yeah, there was tough times. There's no two ways about it. But they didn't let it get them down. They struggled. Yeah, oh yeah, they struggled. But I learned a lot from my grandparents, and I'm putting it into play today. I'm getting away from the convenient foods. I'm focusing more on making things from scratch. And I'm finding out making things from scratch brings back a lot of precious memories. Especially when I was a young boy watching my grandmother make stuff. And it's amazing how those memories come flooding back when I made something that they did. You know, talk about a flashback in time. And you can live that too. Think back of what your grandparents did, your grandmother, your grandfather, your mom or dad. Do something that would bring you back and use that ability to save money, to cut costs, and to look back to your past to help you with your future. I know what my grandmother would say to me today. Do you really need that? No. Can you make do without it? Absolutely. She used to say when I was a young girl and I was married, we made do. We didn't buy new. And when it was something new, it was a special occasion. But they made it last. And they did. They worked hard. But one thing they never did do is they didn't give up on each other. The faith, the family, the friends, the community, all work together, folks, for the good. And I think if anything in this world that we can do is we need to look to the past for our future and make it work for us. It's not that hard. They've given us the blueprint. We just need to put it in action. And I'm starting to do that myself. And believe me, folks, it's not that hard. If I can do it, I know you can do it. And above all things, my grandmother and my grandfather and my parents did, as they told me, always look to the Lord in prayer. Whatever you do, always put your faith in the Lord, and He'll make sure that you're going in the right direction. And I believe with the sincerity that I think that all of us can do that. Every one of us. You need to look to your past for your future. Don't give up. Don't get despair, because you never win if you give up. And just think, folks, without it, we would be nothing, because if our grandparents didn't make it and didn't fight for it, you wouldn't be here. Isn't that the truth? I hope this message has helped you. And if it has, please comment down below. And if you're a new viewer and you like what you're hearing, please like and subscribe. And I think we can help each other, give words of encouragement and things in our lives that have been great and graceful, and make it better, because that's what it's all about. I'm just an ordinary person, folks, going through the same struggles and the same things in life you are, watching all the prices go up and seeing the disparity in people's face. And I'm going to try to bring hope back to every one of you. So until next time, folks, don't give up. Look to the Lord in prayer. And until next time, God bless you. Take care. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.